Call to order. Governing board meeting is called to order at 5 p.m. Please stand for the flag salute. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Let the record reflect that all members of the governing board and administration are present. Also, prior to the start of this meeting, it was brought to my attention that the party involved with the appeal of findings regarding complaints has asked for the item to be rescheduled. In accommodating the request, I move to approve the agenda, striking the last three items listed for closed session as follows. Appeal findings regarding complaint against employee pursuant to VPAR 1312.1 and government code section 54957. Appeal findings regarding UPC complaint pursuant to BPAR 1312.2 and education code section 35146. Conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to paragraph 2 or 3 of subdivision D of section 54956.9, one potential case appeal of complaints. Additionally, action item 17A will not be considered at this meeting, will be considered at a later date. Do I have a motion to approve the suggested revision?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Ms. Ahmad.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion on this item? With no discussion, we'll move this to be approved. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, motion passes 4-0. Approval of minutes, approval of November 14th, 2022, regular meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
A motion.
Thank you, Mr. Strong.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Shedd. Is there any discussion? With no discussion, we'll have this move to be approved. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and I'm an aye, motion passes 4-0. Oath of office, Dr. Miramontes.
Yes, I'd like to administer the oath of office to our newly elected governing board member and our incumbents that have come forward. So I'll start with trustee area number 2, Jason Chong. Come on up. You're on the other side. So, Jason, repeat after me. I, Jason Chong, do solemnly swear
I, Jason Chong, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Constitution of the State of California and all enemies, foreign.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California.
And I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States, Constitution of the State of California.
That I will take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
That I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties on which I am about to enter.
And I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which. Congratulations.
Brother Estrada, please come on up. Come on closer, see, that symbol right there. I, Brenda Estrada, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic. that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of California, that I will take this obligation freely without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
Kudos.
Very good. I, Jerry Fructus, do solemnly swear
I, Gary, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of California, against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
the Constitution of the State of California, against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the United States of California,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
that I will and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Okay. I, Rodius Shedd, do solemnly swear
I believe that the solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will take this obligation freely without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Yes. Why don't we take a quick picture of all four of you together as you're signing? Five.
I don't know.
Come on up, let's go. All Center. Center enough.
No, you're not.
There's that logo in there. Thank you.
It's on.
Yeah. 78.
Right. Congratulations to all the re-elected board members and Mrs. Estrada, welcome to the board.
Thank you so much.
Organization meeting annual election of officers for 2023. Nomination and election for president. Are there any nominations for president?
I would like to nominate Ms. Shed.
Thank you, Ms. Ahmad. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Chong. Is there any discussion? With no discussion, we'll move the item to be approved. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nominee motion passes 4-0-1. Five.
Five.
Sorry. Clarification, motion passes 5-0. All right, so at this point, before I hand over the gavel over to Mrs. Shed, I'd just like to say a few words before we move on. First off, I want to congratulate Mrs. Shed on becoming our new school board president. I know with her experience, our district is in excellent hands as we move forward, so congratulations. Secondly, it's been an honor to serve as a board president for the last year. I mean, I couldn't have done it without our governance team, superintendent, our district, our students, and our entire Buena Park community. That goes a long way, so I want to thank everybody along the way that supported me and continues to support our school district, because there's no I in team. It's all been done as a team, and I'm very proud of the work that we have done collectively as a whole. And lastly, there's no task that is too small or too big for us to conquer, as long as our main priority continues to be our students. So as long as we keep that in mind, we're in great hands. And I know with President Shed, she's gonna take us a long way as we move forward. So congratulations to everybody. And once again, thank you for the entire, for this last year of all your support that you have given me. But I just want to say, our school district is on the map. It's been talked about across the state. And I know that firsthand because we built a lot of great connections and relationships, and our name is brought up north and down south. So that's something to be very proud of. And I hope we continue to be talked about, and to know that we're always gonna have a seat at any table we go and show up to. So with that, I'd like to continue and pass over the gavel to Mrs. Shed. Thanks, Peter. What? Oh, thank you.
Name tags?
The names.
No, there you go.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you. Let's see. Looks like we're ready for approval of minutes.
To be.
Oh, the rest of, yes.
Yeah.
I wanted to, let's see, so we're looking for the nomination for the clerk pro president.
I'd like to motion and nominate Darwa for the clerk president pro tem.
Thank you. Thank you. Having that nomination for Sarwa Ahmad for clerk pro tem. Do I have a motion?
Second.
A second. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. This is what I need. All right, so second and first, with no, is there any discussion? All right, with no discussion, then we will move to approve the item. All in favor?
Aye.
And I am an aye, so motion passes. 5-0. Okay. What is our next one that we need? Oh.
Wow, that was quick.
We don't let him get away.
We're getting things done.
Okay, so nomination and election for district representative to serve on the nominating committee to elect members to serve on the Orange County Committee on School District Organization, Education Code 35023 or 72403. Are there any nominations for district representative?
I, Jerry, nominate Brenda Estrada.
Okay, with the nomination of Brenda Estrada for district, for the nominating committee.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
No.
Then without any discussion, we will vote for the, approve the motion. And I'm an aye, so the vote is 5-0.
All in favor.
Good.
Is there a motion? All in favor? Just say
All in
All in favor, sorry.
Aye. And I'm an aye.
Yeah.
Okay,
Take that and give me your favorite. Okay.
all right.
Item D.
All right, nomination and election of alternative district representative to serve on the nomination committee to elect members to serve on Orange County Committee on School District Organization. Education Code 35023 or 72403. Are there any nominations for alternative district representative?
I'd like to nominate Mr. Chong.
Okay, no, I think- okay. All right, do I have a second? Okay, thank you. Is there any, okay, so I have a first and a second. Is there any discussion on the item? Okay, with no discussion, we will move to approve the item. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any noes? Okay, I vote aye. Motion passes 5-0. Okay, nomination and election for political action representative. Are there any nominations for political action representative?
I like to nominate Jerry Frutos.
Okay, with a nomination of trustee Frutos for district representative, do I have a motion for the election of trustee Frutos? You have a motion and I need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the item? No, with no discussion on the item, we move to approve the item. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Okay, I'm the aye, so the motion passes 5-0. Okay, appointment of the superintendent to serve as the secretary to the governing board. Do I have a motion to approve the superintendent as secretary to the governing board?
Motion.
Thank you, trustee Frutos. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, trustee Ahmad. Is there any discussion on the item? Okay, without discussion, we move to approve the item. All in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? No, I vote aye. Motion passes 5-0. Okay, approval of the 2023 governing board meeting calendar. Do I have a motion to approve the 2023 meeting calendar?
Motion.
Thank you, trustee Frutos. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Chong. Is there any discussion? No, okay. With no discussion on the item, we move to approve the item. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I vote aye. Motion passes 5-0. Governing board comments. Let's start with you, trustee Ahmad.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome all our guests today. It's great to see a lot of our city representatives. Great to see you at our meetings. Thank you for being here. I wanted to welcome Ms. Estrada to our governing board. It's great that you're here and we're looking forward to working with you. I'd also like to congratulate Mrs. Shed for being our president. I know you'll do great things. It's the first meeting. It's always that first meeting jitters. You'll be fine. And I'd also like to congratulate, Mr. Frutos and Mr. Chong, for being here for another 4 years. You guys are stuck with us for another 4 years.
Happily stuck.
Happily stuck. Oh, that's good. I feel like, a lot of times we have months where a lot happens in that month, and this time we had Thanksgiving break, so there wasn't, too much happening in the schools, but I know next week and the week after, we have a lot going on. I'm looking forward to attending some of the holiday concerts. Just a lot of great things happening in our district. I wanted to take this opportunity to, talk about the Superintendent's Cup. I'm wearing my shirt. I feel like that was one of the best events that we've had at our school district. It was so fun. I want to give a huge shout out to Mrs. Wang for organizing it. It was, I mean, she thought of every single thing, like what the kids were gonna do when they weren't playing, what, it was so well done. The kids had a blast. It was one of my favorite days that we've had at our district, and I know everyone had a great time. I hope we can do it every year. And I want to thank everyone that helped put it together, because I know there was a lot of people, our coaches, our PE aides, the schools, even the teachers that were at the CGI training that ran back to kind of, encourage their students. I mean, it was just a great event overall. And so I want to thank everyone that put it together. And I know it came at the perfect time with the World Cup, everyone watching. So the kids were excited and we were too. So thank you again for that amazing event. And thank you for the foundation for helping sponsor it as well.
Thank you. And Trustee Chong, please.
Yeah, also, we want to wish everyone a safe and healthy holidays as it's coming forward. Flu season, any kind of season's coming, so hopefully everyone could stay vitamin C up and come back healthy and rested. I want to also shout out to President Frutos or former President Frutos. It was a rough start, but you got through it. But you did a great job in guiding us and making sure we had a great year. So with that, I hope and look forward to President Shed as we have a new year. I think we're gonna have a great time. Some bumps too, I'm sure, but we'll have some good times doing that together. Wanted to also give a shout out to all those that put the Superintendent Cups together. Definitely the buzz was far greater than the World Cup buzz for sure. I mean, moms were yelling like somebody was gonna die, like it was crazy.
It was serious.
And congrats to, I believe, Emery and Gilbert, who ended up winning the 3rd, 4th, 5th grade levels, or Emery 3rd and 4th, Gilbert 5th. So congrats to those schools. Yeah, it was really cool to see. It felt normal. Like we're finally like doing something where everyone gets to be together and have some energy and buzz. So that was really great. Thank you to all the teams that put it together. Congratulations also to our new board member. You're joining a great group here that we all care and really believe in what we do. And we just got to go to CSBA for a couple of us, and a couple of 2 points that I wanted to share was one, in that our district is definitely very normal. In a good way, that we believe and put kids first, and that we really get along. We really do have professionalism with each other. And I'm saying that because that's not so common. I think people think it's already assumed that people get along and everything's all flowers and roses. When you went to the CSBA and you hear some of the issues, this is a very honored, where you can't take it for granted what we have. And so thank you to our superintendent and Aaron and the cabinet for creating that environment among my colleagues here, that we get to do some good work. And I look forward to that we get to continue that. The second thing is, like, I think people are worried about economy and like recession or inflation. One of the sessions we went to, former state superintendent O'Connell, I want to say Jerry O'Connell, but it's not Jerry O'Connell. Jack O'Connell. Jerry's the actor. Jack O'Connell. He did a great thing about that. There's a lot of warning signs, but we don't have to really panic yet. So all the things that our district has been doing, our teams have been doing to set the financials straight, to prepare for what's to come, we are in a very good shape. So hearing that and hearing the message from even Fiona Ma, who came and shared about where the fiscal situation is, we're pretty safe for at least another year. So at least we could breathe a little and know that we should be okay for 1 year. But moving forward, Mrs. Potteet, I'm sure you'll see everything coming down the line. But set at ease a little bit that the yellow flashing lights, as he put it, is still kind of far off. It's not too close yet. So if anybody didn't know, that was something we learned at the conference. So very good to go there and just be able to share and commiserate among good people. And I'm just again excited for the next journey. Looking forward to another great year, to great years to work with our board here. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. And trustee Estrada.
Okay, well, I just wanted to say, I really want to thank everyone within my community who supported me and who helped me get here. I really love my community and I really would like to help, and I really appreciate everyone's support. And I hope to be a really good trustee and to be able to help my community as much. I'd like to thank the board. Thank you so much for the appointment, and I hope to be able to work together with you guys for these next 2 years. And I really appreciate all of your help and the welcoming atmosphere I've seen, especially as Mr. Chong over here pointed out, that it really does feel really welcoming to be here, and I really appreciate it so much. And I look forward to working with everyone on the board, as well as Mr. Miramontes and Ms. Erin. Thank you so much, and I really appreciate it. And I look forward to working together and to having a good year with you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Trustee Frutos.
Thank you, President Shea. First off, I want to welcome everybody in attendance, all our special guests, city council, and representatives from our local constituents. This last month was pretty, there was some busy moments, but there was also some downtime. I had the opportunity to visit Gilbert. They had the first trimester assembly, and they haven't had anybody in person for the last couple of years. So it was nice to see families back inside celebrating, their children. Because it was a very welcoming experience that Mrs. Chavez put forth together, so everybody can feel comfortable and celebrate the students. Our board also, like Mr. Chong mentioned, we had the opportunity to be at CSBA. It was a great few days of professional development. We weren't just there for the conference, we were there to learn. And I know there was a lot of great takeaways with the workshops that we attended, especially with hearing Jack O'Connell and Fiona Mall, the report that they gave in the with our state's budget. So that was really good to hear. We also, President Shed and I joined a few other community engagement workshops, and they were very informative. And we walked away with a lot of great information and conversations to bring back forth to our district. But we also had a great keynote speaker. Brandon Fleming had an incredible keynote. It was very touching, very moving. And the best way to sum up that keynote was he challenged everybody in the room to teach with the heart and not by subjects. So that was very moving for me. It's something that I wanted to bring back and share with everybody here, because it is true. When you lead with the heart, a lot of good things come from it versus just teaching subjects. And then lastly, I just want to wish everybody a good winter break. Hopefully everybody has some relaxation, recharges, and comes back ready for 2023 better than ever. And that concludes my report. President Shea.
Thank you. Well, I first want to start by thanking trustee, our former president, trustee Frutos, for his great leadership this past year. I know that he has used the same focus and care that he has for his own children with all of our children in the district. So I'm appreciative and thankful for that. And I want to welcome our newest board member, Ms. Trustee Estrada. And I know your heart is in the same place as, from talking with you about putting the children first. And so that's something that we're looking forward to working together as a team in doing as we move forward. I also want to talk about what I did, a couple of the things. One was going to the mayor's prayer breakfast and held by the city. And they had their speaker who was a Romanian lawyer. And she talked about the persecution that she had suffered. But she faced it by standing up for what was right, not letting it beat her down. And that's something I brought back, thinking that that's what we do as board members. We stand up for what's right for our students and looking out for what's best for them, and thereby also our staff and our families. So I really appreciated going to the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast this year. Also, I went to a food giveaway that was sponsored by a lot of organizations. Sharon Kortzelba was there, our Assemblywoman. Senator Josh Newman was there, and Supervisor, Doug Chafee was there. And they all brought different organizations. They brought food and they brought toys, and they had a lot of resources for our families. And there were some of our families there, and it was good to see them getting extra help that they could use. And so I appreciated that time. And the music concert was by Buena Park Middle School, was such a wonderful evening with great Christmas music, holiday cheer, and different types of songs, which I appreciated for the holiday. And that's it for me. I want to wish everyone a merry holiday season with their family and friends. I want to also thank our family and friends who came out tonight to support us. We appreciate your time coming and to share this moment with us. And it leads me to Dr. Montes.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank President, outgoing president, former President Frutos for his work, his diligence to lead the group. All of you, Samad, Chong, Jerry, Mr. Frutos have all gone through some sort of, ups and downs, right? And so I look forward to working with Rhodia through those ups and downs. Together, we're going to get through this. I also want to welcome Brenda Estrada. I look forward to some time to meet with her on Thursday, and look forward to our one-on-one times and some opportunities to visit schools to see the great work that we're doing in our schools. Speaking of schools, Buena Park Middle School Choir not only participated for our winter concert, but also participated in a couple of city events. They participated in the tree lighting ceremony and also the Candy Cane Lane, and can't say enough about the staff there that supports. It's not just Mr. Locke, it's a bunch of teachers that rally around Mr. Locke and his students coming to see them perform. So I can't say enough about the Buena Park Middle School staff there and Mr. Locke. Look forward to the drum line that's been practicing. They've got 5 competitions. So it's going to be nice to have a drum line at the middle school. Speaking of Beatty Middle School, I want to thank Mrs. Terhune, Mr. McDonald, and Mrs. Kim for their competition in the debate programs. They had over 300 students compete, and we had students that finished as high as 12th and 18th place in multiple team awards. And I can't tell you what they're for, but they're 5th place and 19th place, another 5th place, and some distinguished speakers that competed this past weekend. And they're just getting into the season. In the spring, they'll hit more and more debates. Little kudos, shout out to Buena Park Middle School staff. They're the first staff to receive in our district the Apple certification. They follow through and have their Apple certification. They just meet with Dr. Cantu, Mrs. Centeno, myself. Just got back from celebrating their staff meeting, so that's a huge accomplishment. I know that Beatty Middle School is following, and then I think Emory and a few others are going to follow in their footsteps. So they've set the bar high there. Again, the Superintendent's Cup was fantastic. It was fun. A little idea I had that I threw out to the team, and like piranhas, they chewed on it and chewed on it and chewed on it. And I kept asking, what about? And they were perfect. So great opportunity. I look forward to Kindergarten Kindness coming up with our kindergarten heroes. Each kid will receive a medal and a cape as a kindergarten hero, along with their artwork, again, in partnership with the Education Foundation, and also the choir festival that comes up in February. We look forward to that. Couple other things. Just want to thank the leader. We're 6 months into the school year, halfway through, right? And I want to thank the leadership of the school sites, the leadership here at the district office, and then our association leaderships, Lori Cannon from CSCA and Carol Bright from BPTA. Together, we can't we can't do it alone. We have to do it together. And it's been a great 6 months. There's still a lot of work to do. We want every student to continue to grow. That is the role we have to continue to move forward with, or I should say the calling. And then lastly, I do want to welcome our guests from the city. I see Susan Sonne. I see Connor Trout here. I see his wife Cheyenne from the Bonarca District Library is also here. We have from Centralia School District, Mr. Torres, and then Mr. Pack from Sharon Court Sewell's office. So a lot of special guests in the audience, and we want to welcome you guys all here. And I look forward to Thursday, an event Thursday at the city. Dr. Swift is going to be, there's a celebration recognizing her work in the Bonaparte community. When you think of people in the Bonaparte community, I don't think there's anybody above what she has done, what she has contributed to the work that we have, at least in the Bonaparte School District and the city jointly, right? There are a lot of people that do a lot of things, but just the legacy that she leaves behind. I look forward to that event on Thursday afternoon. That's Tuesday? Tomorrow? Thursday. It is Thursday.
Oh, I have it on my calendar.
Yeah, it is Thursday. Thank you. Thursday. And we look forward to having them being part of that as well. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, and that leads us to the hearing session. The audience members may request to address the board on any item on or off the agenda per board bylaw 9323. Individual speakers shall be allowed 3 minutes to address the governing board on each agenda or non-agenda item. The board limits total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. The total time allowed for public comment shall be 30 minutes. Audience members wishing to address the board during the hearing session of the agenda should fill out the request to address the governing board form and turn it in to the executive assistant prior to the board meeting for the hearing session. Do we have any? Okay.
So, yes, congratulations on, for everybody, for the newly elected trustee and returning trustees and outgoing president, incoming president, incoming vice president, everybody. My name is Joe Pack, and I'm a field rep for Assemblyman Sharon Cook Silva, representing our 67th Assembly District, used to be 65. At this time, I'd like to present certificate of recognition to our current president, Honorable Jerry Cooper. Just read what it says. California Legislative Assembly certificate of recognition to Honorable Jerry Cooper. In honor of your leadership as president of the Bonaparte School Board 2022, on behalf of the 67th Assembly District, I commend you for your commitment and dedication to the Bonaparte School District. Thank you for the time and effort you have dedicated to public service and to making the Bonaparte School a safer, beautiful, and more quality place to educate children. Congratulations and best of luck in all your future endeavors. December 12th, 2022. Assemblyman Sharon Cook Silva, 67th Assembly.
Oh, sorry.
And while they're setting up there for a picture, I do want to apologize to board member Art Montez. I don't know why I said Mr. Torres. You and I speak all the time together. Yes.
All right, so we're ready for action items, right? Action calendar, nomination of board member, hold on.
Yes, you're right.
Is that right? You're right.
Okay. Nomination of board member to serve on the California School Board Association, CSBA Delegate Assembly for Region 15 for the 2023-25 team term. Dr. Miramontes.
Yes, this is your opportunity to nominate a delegate to serve on the Region 15 for 3 years. I think we have got some great candidates that will serve us well.
I make a motion to nominate Rhodia, Mrs. Shed, if you would like.
Yes, I would like. Thank you. With the nomination,
I second that.
thank you. All right, then, is there any discussion? All
Good
right,
luck.
with no discussion on the item, we will move to approve the item. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, and I'm an aye. Motion passes 5-0. All right,
Congratulations.
thank you. Thank you. And thank you for your support. Approval of the 2022-23 first interim report. Dr. Montes.
Yeah, I'd like to turn this over. We've got a packet for you. You have a packet at your dais there, and we'd like to share this with Mrs. Poti, who's going to share the first interim report. Poti.
Thank you. Good evening, board members. Dr. Miramonte, audience members. Tonight I'm going to present the 22-23 first interim financial report. Next slide, please. This report isn't done in a silo. It takes a team. I want to specifically thank Neil Sikar for her assistance, our director
For fiscal services, in her assistance in preparing this report. Next slide, please. Our budget calendar, we meet officially, we report 3 times. We adopt the budget in June. This is the first, what's called the first interim report, which comes in December, and we do a second follow-up report on March 15th. Next slide, please. The first interim specifically covers the what's the actual expenditures that have occurred as of October 31st. We update our current revenue, our projections since the 45-day budget update. So this year there was significant changes. So we did have a 45-day. We'll also report on the expenditures and the projections reflecting current programs. And then we will, at the end, we'll do the certification of our multi-year projection for the report. Next slide. So our general fund unrestricted revenue, our unrestricted revenue has increased 753,000 with the increase of the additional state investment from 6.28 to 6.7. It's provided an additional 651,000 in revenue. Our local revenue has increased 102,000. This also incorporates the new LCFF ADA calculation. So prior we had a preliminary calculation based on what we were understanding the rules to be. Now they've provided the official calculation. And so that's been updated. And so that impacts our total revenues as well. Next slide, please. Our general fund restricted revenue, we have an increase of 1.85 million. Our federal revenue has increased approximately 400,000. That's a recognition of additional COVID relief funding. Our state revenue increase is 734,000. That includes changes for special ed, early intervention and mental health grants, the ACES increase, pre-K planning grant, a national board certification teacher incentive grant, educator effectiveness block grant, and in-person instruction grant changes. Our local revenue has increased by 753,000, including grants such as CalShape, Healthy Kids, and the Coatson grant. Next slide, please. So our revenues for the year, our unrestricted revenues total just over 56 million. Our restricted revenues total just over 36 million for a total general fund revenue of 92.4 million. The LCFF revenue, which is our base dollars, 59% of that makes up our revenue. We're receiving 9% in federal revenue currently. Our state revenues are now 25%. And then our other local revenue is 7% of our total revenue. Next slide, please. Expenditure changes. The expenditures have increased approximately $910,000 for this year from our July budget. We have some site and department carryovers that were included. We've had staffing updates, and we've had increased cost in utilities, specifically electricity and water. Next slide, please. Our restricted expenditure changes are 4.5 million. We've had 1.9 in new state programs and grants, almost $1 million in grant and maintenance carryover. We have 400,000 in COVID relief programs,
$500,000 in RDA redevelopment agency fees, facility expense, and 807 in special ed program costs. And those special ed program costs are both one-time and ongoing. About half of that is some one-time grants that we're required to spend. Next slide, please. So when we look at our overall expenditures, our unrestricted expenditures total 44.4 million. Restricted expenditures are 33.4 million. Our total fund is 77.9 million in expenditures. That breaks out to personnel costs of about 75% of our budget. Currently, 23% is our supplies and services, and another 2% for what's considered other outgo. Next slide, please. In addition to that, we have what are required contributions. So we're required to set aside 3% of our expenses for a mandated contribution to routine restricted maintenance. So we're required to set aside those funds. That's currently 2.1 million. We also have our special ed contribution and maintenance of effort for special ed. So we have costs of approximately 7.2 million beyond what we're receiving revenue for specifically for special education. Next slide, please. After our contributions, our unrestricted fund balance is increasing by 2.2 million. Our restricted fund balance is increasing by 12.2. When you add those to our beginning balances, our ending balance for unrestricted is 15.2 million. Our restricted ending balance is 17.8 for a total general fund balance of just over $33 million. Next slide, please. When we break out our components of ending fund balance, 55,000 is for revolving cash, 25 is for stores. That's the value of what's in our warehouse. Our restricted balance is 17.8 million. Our committed balance is just over 9.4 million, with commitments specifically for textbook adoption, other post-employment or OPEB benefits, a technology reserve, Affordable Care Act, a reserve of an additional 1.5% in excess of the state minimum. We have a declining enrollment mitigation reserve, and we've set aside funds for future program needs. In addition to that, our assigned balance is 3.4 million, an allocation for Kid Connection reserve, a state preschool reserve, and then our reserve capacity. Our ending fund balance, and then we have our reserve for economic uncertainties, which is our required 3%. That's the minimum we have to have by state law, and that's just over 2.3 million. We go to the next slide. Oh, go next slide, one more. Sorry. So we take our base year this year, and then we are required to add 2 more years and project where we'll be in 2 years. It's a projection. It's a tool just to help us guide, to make sure we have fiscal solvency. And these are the factors that we include. I've left the first 3 columns are the same color as you'll see. That's just to show what has changed from when we adopted the budget in June, what we knew and we're changed at 45-day, and where we are at current first interim. As you can see, the COLA stayed the same. We had an LCFF investment that was unknown at adoption and added at 45-day, and then was finalized at even a higher rate when the state finally adopted the budget. Our projected enrollment, we are about 30 students above where we had projected. We're still declining, but that's a positive number. We have what's called our projected ADA. So we're funded on attendance or average daily attendance, which is a percentage of the enrollment. And then you'll see another number there, funded ADA. Funded ADA is how much we're actually being funded on. They created a new methodology this year, the 3-year prior average. In the past, you could have the greater of current or prior year. That was your one savings for if you were in declining enrollment. Because of the COVID and the closures and the deep cliff that districts were going to be dropping off of as the declining enrollment was so severe, the state changed our methodology and added a 3rd method, which is 3 prior year average. So that has created some significant revenue for us in the future years. As you can see, what we're going to get funded for is definitely greater than what our projected ADA for that particular year is. So we do see an advantage from that. We also included here the changes expected in unrestricted and restricted lottery. And then our employee benefit costs, other CalSTRS, that is flat for the next few years. And we've received reports that they do not anticipate raising that. They feel that their funding, as they've done their latest projections, STRS does not anticipate that having to increase. CalPERS is at just over 25%. We haven't seen the latest reports. They've always had the ability to change their rates. So we'll wait and see. That gets set every spring, but these are the current projections for them. Social Security, Medicare, and unemployment, they've stayed the same. There is an expectation that unemployment is going to drop to 0.2% starting in 23-24. And then workers' comp has maintained at 2.25%. So all of these factors are applied to our current budget to help us project what our budget would look like in 23-24 and in 24-25. So if we could go to the next slide. So we apply all those factors and knowing what we know in our base year, then in 23-24, which is the center gray, our total revenues unrestricted would be 56.9 million. Our expenditures for unrestricted would be 44.5. We have a contribution of 9.6 million, which leaves us a surplus for that year of 2.7. When you add to your beginning balance, it'll leave us a balance of just over 18 million in the unrestricted for 23-24. Restricted funds revenues projected to go to 25.2 million, which is a significant decrease as we're starting to spend down all of the COVID funds. And so as those funds drop off, that funding goes down. Our expenditures are dropping to 33.5, or they're not dropping, they're staying at 33.5 million. We have our contributions and then our surplus of 1.3 for restricted, leaving us an ending balance of 19.2 million. So the overall 23-24 is projected to have an ending fund balance of 37.2 million. When we go out to that third year, so we're projecting what we might know 2.5 years from now, our unrestricted revenue would be at 56.7 million. Our unrestricted expenditures would be just over 45 million. We have our contributions of 9.6, leaving us a surplus of 2 million. Once added to that beginning balance, will leave us just over 20 million as an ending balance. On the restricted side, we'd have revenue of 19.8 million, expenditures of 28.3. We have our contribution of 19.6, leaving us a surplus of just over $1 million. When added to beginning balance, leaves us a total of 20.3 million in restricted funds. So overall, we'd be at 40.3 ending fund balance in 24-25, based on what we know today. It's not a target. It's not a goal we're shooting for. This is just the information we have as of today. So if we go to the next slide, please. So we look at how those ending balances, and then we list what are the reserves, what's committed, what is assigned. So in our current year, we have a 19.6% reserve. Towards the state cap is 7.4 and 12.2 is committed beyond the state cap. If you recall, we do have a limit now on our reserves of 10% unless they're committed for other purposes. So we do try to stay within that within that cap. In 23-24, our reserve percentage will go to 23.15% with 7.31 towards the state cap and 15.8 as committed reserves. And in the final year, our fund balance would be 27.28 would be our reserve percentage, with 7.16 reserved towards a cap and just over 20% in committed reserves. We can go on to the next page, please. So our recommended certification, the choices are positive, that we will be able to meet our financial obligations for the current or two subsequent 2 years, or if it's qualified or negative. And as we reported, we're definitely in the positive certification right now. So those are all good things. Next slide, please. We do want to just touch on our other funds that we have. We have our Child Development Fund, which is where our state preschool program is run through Fund 12. They had a beginning balance. They've got revenue of 1.4, expenses of 1.4, and they'll end with just under 200,000 at 193. Our cafeteria funds, beginning with 4.5 million. They are projected to have revenues of 3.5, expenditures of 4.1, and their ending balance is 3.9 million. We have a small amount in our deferred maintenance simply because we haven't fully closed it. We have beginning balance of 55. We have anticipated interest of $3, the balance of 58. Our Fund 21, or our bond fund, currently has 13.1 million at the beginning balance and anticipated revenue of 75,000 in interest. Expenditures of 12.8 million, leaving us with a balance of 370,000 in our building fund. Our capital facilities fund, Fund 25, that's where our developer fees are. We had a beginning balance of 136,000. We anticipate receiving 83,000 in revenues. We have some small expenses just for administrative, an ending balance of 218,000. Our Fund 35, which is our where our funding from the state comes if we have state matching funds, has a current balance of 7,547. Some small revenues and expenses with an ending balance of just under 7,500. And our special reserve for capital outlays beginning at 6.6 million. We anticipate revenues of 885,000, expenses of 1.6 million, leaving us with an ending balance of 5.8 million in special reserve. Next slide. Are there any questions on the financial reports?
Seeing no questions, thank you for that. And all the work that goes into, especially with all the changes that were made, right?
Yes, there's been a lot of changes at the state level with regards to our programs and our funds.
Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to approve the first interim budget? Motion. Thank you, trustee Fructos. And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, trustee Ahmad. And then, is there any discussion on the item? No. All right, no discussion on the item. We will move to approve the item. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. The motion passes with a 5-0 vote. And adoption of resolution number 22-14. Resolution of the governing board of the Buena Park School District regarding annual accounting of developer fees for the 21-22 fiscal year in the following fund. Fund 25, Capital Facilities Account Fund. Dr. Miramontes?
Yes, as Mrs. Poti shared with us, we've got Fund 25 is the developer fees that comes in. So we're just asking the board to accept the developer fees that come in from, it gets triggered through the high school district and then on to us first. I think 2/3, 1/3, correct?
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve resolution 22-14?
I'll motion.
Thank you, it's not, and a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. Any discussion? No. All right, with no discussion on the item, we will move to approve the item. All in favor?
Aye.
Do you need a roll call for the resolution?
Yep.
My bad.
Yes,
Roll call vote.
okay, all right, roll call. Mr.
Aye.
Trump, thank you. Mrs. Drive? Mr. Fructus?
Aye.
And Ms.
Aye.
Thank you. And I'm an aye also. It passes 5-0. Acceptance of the 22-23 St. Jude Hospital Grant. Dr. Miramontes.
Yeah, I'm just super stoked that St. Jude continues to partner with us. So they will give us $53,000 for supporting the wellness programs within our district. We use this with our wellness coach and our who oversees our works with our PE teachers and staff members as well. So we just asked the board to accept this, and I want to thank Mrs. Wong, who's also, this is one of the programs under her. As we keep shifting things back and forth in that department, she works with Mrs. Ball, who oversees this program here.
Thank you.
Is there a thought to do a wellness one of the wellness rooms in the elementary schools, or is it just gonna be?
That would not be enough for a wellness room. And so one of the things that we need to have that conversation with our staff. I think if you start doing wellness rooms, counselors have their rooms, and that should be the safe place
Mhm.
that kids go to. You start, if it's too new or if it's old, they won't utilize the wellness. So right now, we're just tracking, I know that Dr. Can too. Dr. Simonovsky are tracking how many kids actually come through the wellness rooms at the middle school. I'd rather call them student unions, so to say. So it's got a little bit different flavor. It's got that college flavor of a student union. See your dad wearing the Cal State Fullerton, you know, so for the elementary sites, we might want to look at something more of a student union. Then when they get to the middle school, they understand the wellness and what that safe space means. We have safe places all within the campus in our classrooms. I know that some of our teachers have created wellness corners. You walk into some of our special education rooms, there are wellness corners there. So it's just, do we want to set money aside for wellness rooms? We want people to staff it with.
Well, I wouldn't think that it would be something separate from the counselors. It would be the actual counselors' rooms.
Some of our counselors rooms, some of our classrooms aren't. I mean, they're in an office. So that's what we talked about,
Tiny.
possibly a student union, and maybe we redo our libraries to become more like the Barnes and Nobles, combination of that and really modernizing our classroom, our libraries. We have librarians in those classrooms. We will also have the academic program supervisors in those classrooms as well. So utilizing that, again, more as a university student union in the libraries. It's a large enough space, and you can have 40, 50 kids there, right? And utilizing it that way so that we have multi-use during the school day and after school as well.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cortez. And any discussion? Or any further discussion? No further discussion on the item. We will move to approve the item. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an ayes. Motion passes 5-0. All right, approval of the amendment to the FCI SD 4-03 contract from the Children and Families Commission of Orange County. Dr. Ramontes.
Yeah, another great partnership with the commission here who has provided support to the Bonaparte School District for over 15 years. They're extending a 3-year grant and amending it to go through 23-24 at $127,000. That pays for our school readiness centers, amongst other things. So I just asked that the board approve this as well.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the amendment to the contract?
Motion.
Thank you. And a second? Thank you. And is there any discussion on the item? No discussion on the item. We will move to approve the item. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Motion passes 5-0. All right, approval of identified CSCA employee reclassification. Dr. Ramontes.
Yeah, this is a reclassification that the management staff asked to bring forward. I'm going to ask our Chief Personnel Officer, Mr. Harrison, to talk a little bit more about how we came about this and what was done over the last 6 months to inform the board about this reclassification study back in the summer. Mr. Harrison?
Good evening, President Shedd and members of the governing board. This evening, the next few action items represent our school district's intentions to recognize the hard work of our classified employees and to ensure that we're providing competitive and appropriate compensation for the valuable work that they take on every day, which benefits our students and community. I want to thank CSEA's president, Lori Cannon, and the rest of CSEA's bargaining team for the time spent in working on these job descriptions and for the conversations around these salary adjustments. Lori Cannon could not make it here this evening, but she did ask me to relay her appreciation to the governing board for their consideration on these matters. Their membership has voted in support of these items in November, and I will go over them one at a time. The first item pertains to the reclassification of the Secretary of Special Education to the new position title of Special Education Secretarial Specialist. As legislation and documentation in special education have continued to develop over the past decade, so too have the complexity of duties and responsibilities of this position, from training new personnel in proper assessment and maintenance, as well as the oversight of the state database information. A study conducted by an independent contractor found that the position merited a revised job description and higher salary range as compared to similar positions in other districts. Are there any questions on this item?
Thank you, Mr. Harrison.
All right. There's a motion to approve the identified CSEA employee reclassification.
Motion.
Thank you. And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Ms. Simon. And any discussion? No discussion on the item. We will move to approve the item. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. The motion passes 5-0. All right, approval of salary range increase for bus drivers. Dr. Ramontes.
Yeah, again, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Harrison, talk about the process of how we came about. Mr. Harrison?
Sure thing. This next item stemmed from a job study on our bus drivers' compensation. Our recruitment efforts seem to be lacking many applicants on EdJoin, so a salary study was conducted comparing our wages to similar districts near us. This increase proposed herein will bring us to a comparable level, increasing our likelihood of both recruiting and retaining the very people that bring our students to school and deliver them safely home each day. Are there any questions?
Questions? Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the salary range increase for bus drivers?
Motion.
Thank you, trustee Fuchs. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Any discussion? All right, no discussion on the item. We'll move to approve the item. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. The vote passes 5-0. The revised job descriptions, accounting technician 2, purchasing and accounting technician 2, and receivables payables. Sorry, payables, receivables. Dr. Miramontes.
Yeah, before I turn this over to Mr. Harrison, I do want to thank CSCA President Lori Cannon and her team as they work with the district office, specifically Mr. Harrison and Mrs. Traster, as they work through the process of getting all these 3 positions moving forward. So, Mr. Harrison.
Thank you. This item represents a revision to the job descriptions for 2 positions in fiscal services. The board may recall that a job description for accounting technician 2 purchasing was approved earlier this year in June. But at that meeting, I had shared that CSEA had reserved the right to review this job description and compare it with other jobs within that department. At this time, there's no change in compensation associated with these new job description revisions, but instead, these updated descriptions represent the collaboration of both parties to delineate the work of the respective desks of these 2 employees. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the revised job descriptions?
A motion.
Thank you, trustee Miller. Yes, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. Mr. Fuchs. Any discussion? Okay, with no discussion on the item, we'll move to approve the item. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. The motion passes 5-0. All right, approval of employment of certificated staff under a variable term waiver, Yvonne Agee. Dr. Miramontes.
Yeah, I'm going to turn right back over to Mr. Harrison to talk about how that process went about.
It's my lucky night. The district has successfully recruited and hired a variety of teachers holding special education credentials in the last few years. One of these candidates, one of these teachers is currently completing an online intern program through Arizona's Grand Canyon University. As an out-of-state program, the California Teaching Commission requires that a district's governing board approve a variable term waiver for that assignment until the program completion. This teacher is finishing all certification requirements this month and should qualify to receive her California credential this January. So this variable term waiver will cover her for the assignment at present. Are there any questions?
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the employment of certificated staff under a variable term waiver?
Motion.
Thank you, trustee Chang. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. And any discussion?
Miss, go ahead.
Um, no discussion, we'll move to approve the item. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Motion passes 5-0.
I would just like to say, Yvonne A.G. and Mary McDowell were two CSCA employees that, when I went to CALSA, and I find CALSA to be a wonderful resource. But when I met with CALSA, with vendors about how to elevate our teaching force, how to keep people that are part of our community to stay with our community, right? I had an opportunity as the assistant sup to bring Grand Canyon University in, right? And they came in and they had worked with the orientation, and they helped people get their AAs and also get their BAs, and also professional development for teachers. We took advantage of trying to get our CSCA members or anybody that worked for us to continue their education. Two aides took advantage of it, and we've been able to hire 2 aides. So I know that Mr. Harrison and I met with Grand Canyon last week, and we'd like to do another round of that. It's been about 4 years now since we've done that. So we'd like to try it again. We've got a lot of new faces, young faces that want to continue to grow. Alexis Martinez just received his BA, who was another one at working with special needs students. So it's an opportunity for us to home grow our own people and keep them working for the Bonaparte School District. So just want to share that out to you,
How did you
Vaughn.
get notified that it's
It's
available?
an email, and then Mr. Harrison sends information out to the secretaries. We'll share that. Principals will share it at the classified staff meetings as well. So
Yeah, that's a fantastic opportunity for us and for them.
absolutely.
All right, brings us to our consent calendar. Unless a trustee has a question concerning a particular item and asks that it be withdrawn from the consent calendar, the items are approved at one time by the governing board. So, Mr. Chung, do you want to remove anything?
I would like to remove.
Okay, trustee Estrada? Okay.
I have nothing.
All right, thank you. With no items to be withdrawn, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you. And do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Sure. Any discussion on this? All right, with no discussion on the item, we will move to approve the items all at once. And all in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Motion passes 5-0. Information correspondence. Dr. Miramontes.
Yeah, we've got our next meeting coming up. First of all, nice job, Madam President. Well done.
You survived.
Yes.
Yeah. shake it flat.
Thank you. Right on time, as I asked you guys to do it. I didn't ask. They just.
I know.
So, yeah, so we've got our next governing board meeting January 9th. That's the first day we're back. So many of us, I know in cabinet, will be working through the holidays to make sure that we've got this agenda ready to go. Aaron's already let us know that we've got to have it ready, and then we'll do our one-on-ones the week after. Or the week before, I should say. Then we're back into February, which is a Tuesday. It's not a Monday night, it's a Tuesday night. It's the 14th, and we get back to Corey School, Every Student Succeeding Program, and the Bonaparte Bunny. So that was a little bit heavier, but I look forward to having kids back in the audience. Thank you.
Right, thank you. And that brings us to closed session. Conferences with Dr. Ramon Miramontes, Superintendent of the Buena Park School District. Labor Relations, Buena Park Teacher Association, Government Conference Code 54957.6. Labor Relations, California School Employee Association, Chapter 569. Government Conference Code 54957.6. Labor Relations, Non-Represented Management and Confidential Contract Employees, Government Code number 54957.6, and Public Employee Discipline Dismissal Release. Okay, do I have a motion to go into closed session?
Motion.
Thank you. Mr. Trustee. And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. No, any discussion? All right, then let's move to approve the item. All in favor? And I am an aye. Motion passes 5-0. All right, the governing board meeting closes. It goes into closed session at 6:15. We have a motion to reconvene.
Motion.
Thank you.
Second.
And thank you. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
The governing board reconvened at 7:08. All right, reporting out of closed session. And there is, let's see, let the record reflect. There is no action that was taken in closed session tonight. So we have a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Right, then, aye, so the motion passes 5-0. Governing board meeting will adjourn at 7:09.
Thank you, everyone.